Motorola has of late seemed laser focused on improving photography with their devices at various price points, and this new Moto One Fusion Plus is proof of just that. The first thing you'll be greeted by with the Fusion Plus is a large 6.5-inch FHD Plus display that sports a 1080 by 2340 resolution. You'll notice there's no notch. That's because this phone has a pop-up selfie camera. It's a good way to save on screen space, and there's virtually no competitor at this price point that's offering a notch-free display. Colors are a bit flat when the screen mode is set to natural, but you can always boost them by changing the mode in settings. Once you do that, the display experience is fairly good for an IPS LCD panel. Motorola's main focus when it comes to the One Fusion Plus is the quad camera system on the back of the phone, with the 8-megapixel ultra-wide sensor in a separate hole at the top. Below that is the main 64-megapixel sensor, a 5-megapixel macro vision camera, and a 2-megapixel depth sensor. It's quite a bulky system, so if you set the phone down on the table, it does tend to rock a bit, but only when pressing down on the lower right half of the phone. Pictures with the main sensor are quite good, with crisp colors and a whole lot of detail. Some competitors have a tendency to boost saturation, but the Fusion Plus keeps them quite natural. On the whole though, pictures from the main camera are adequately sharp and accurate. The ultra-wide lens produces some nice shots as well, but edges do get quite distorted when dealing with structures. However, image processing is surprisingly good, and pictures taken with this sensor don't look a whole lot different as compared to the main one. The macro sensor didn't always deliver, focusing wasn't entirely consistent, and colors seem a bit washed out. It did get it right at times though, and took a few nice shots. The depth sensor is really good with strong edge detection. It even manages to crop out the edges of just random daily objects quite well. Now, low light picture quality is slightly hit and miss with this phone. Even with the night vision technology Motorola has packed in, there's a fair bit of grain in some pictures, and in a few you can notice color bleeding towards the darker areas. However, at times there's no trouble at all, and the phone takes really nice dramatic shots even in near pitch darkness. The 16-megapixel front selfie camera is in a pop-up mechanism, and it seems as sturdy as the rest of the phone, despite the entire unit being made of plastic. Pictures taken with the selfie camera are sharp and produce good results even in lower lighting situations. Portrait selfies with the front camera are nice too, with good edge detection. A good thing about the Fusion Plus is the plethora of camera modes packed in. There's everything from spot color to cinematograph and live filter, and there's some extra stuff for video too, like a macro mode. There's also the option to shoot pictures in manual mode, which unlocks a hidden feature, raw image capture. On a mid-range device that costs this much, that's quite good, and it means you can take even more advantage of the high-res 64-megapixel sensor in case you don't like the image processing Motorola's used. There's also Google Lens integration at hand, so it's certainly a very feature-rich camera app. Another strong aspect of the Fusion Plus is the chipset. Motorola have bundled in the Snapdragon 730G processor, which coupled with the Adreno 618 GPU and 6GB of RAM gives very respectable results, whether it's while gaming on graphic-intensive titles or just everyday multitasking. There's no lag when just scrolling around or even gaming, and the dedicated game time mode helps block incoming notifications. The operating system on the Moto One Fusion Plus is completely no nonsense. It's the classic near-stock Android that we've come to expect from Motorola devices, and the experience is further enhanced by the presence of Android 10. It brings features like a dark mode and navigational gestures, which are snappy with the hardware provided on this device. There's also Moto gestures like a 3-finger swipe up for screenshots, a quick shake for the flashlight, and a flick of the wrist to launch the camera. On the utility front, Motorola has offered a single speaker setup, USB Type-C charging, and a 3.5mm headphone jack. There's a dedicated Google Assistant key as well, which isn't a feature that's common at all, whether at this price point or even higher. Meanwhile, on the back side, you'll find a fingerprint scanner with the Motorola logo embedded into it. Unfortunately, it's not the most accurate reader and tends to give quite a few incorrect readings from time to time. Luckily, the 5000 mAh battery more than makes up for that issue and should last you more than a day even with heavy usage, and 2 days if you're frugal. There's support for 18-watt turbo power charging, which isn't the quickest when it comes to fast charging speeds, but it's not a deal breaker considering the price and the huge battery. Motorola also includes a plastic case in the box that's quite necessary considering the plastic build quality that's susceptible to scratches. Lastly, let's talk about the design. We received the twilight blue color that's got a nice gradient on the back. It's simple enough, but if you're one for something flashy, there's a moonlight white color option too. The phone is quite bulky, which is probably due to the pop-up camera system, but it does have a nice weight to it, which lends a slightly premium feel to the device. So who is this phone for? Well, if you're a bit of a camera buff on a budget and you like a lot of punch in your performance, the Moto One Fusion Plus won't disappoint. Its 64-megapixel quad camera takes good pictures in most lighting scenarios, and the Snapdragon 730G will handle anything you throw at it. Add to that a near stock Android experience without any bloatware, and you've got yourself a solid daily driver.
Music streaming service Spotify has announced that its premium and free tier users in India can now enjoy music and podcasts on Amazon Echo devices. Users can now use voice commands to request music by artist, album, track, genre, curated and personal playlists, as well as podcasts from their Spotify accounts. To set up Spotify on Amazon Alexa, users will need to go to their Alexa app and visit Settings, Music, Link New Service, and then select Spotify to input username and password. While for now Alexa support is limited to Amazon Echo devices, Spotify says it will soon be available on other Alexa-enabled devices, including Fire TV models and mobile devices. Google has announced that it is adding several new features to its video conferencing app Meet, including the ability to see up to 49 participants simultaneously. Google Meet will also let users customize their backgrounds with presets and custom upload images or just blur them to make their meetings look more professional. There's also a new hand-raising feature to make meetings flow more smoothly, Q&A sessions, live polling, and additional moderator controls to allow them to see who attended the meeting. Other features include the ability to mute all participants at the same time, disable in-meeting chat for participants, and restrict who can present their screens. Google Meet is planning to add new breakout rooms where large meetings can be split into smaller groups to have parallel discussions before they can regroup again. Users will also be able to join or end meetings with simple voice commands and creatively brainstorm from their devices using Google's Jamboard. Google claims the feature will start rolling out to respective subscribers later this year. Game developer CD Projekt Red has unveiled a new trailer for its upcoming open-world action-adventure role-playing title Cyberpunk 2077. The trailer mixes cinematics and gameplay and depicts only the first few quests where the protagonist V is tracking down a chip of immortality. It features a dingy and neon-soaked night city, chaotic combats, some old-fashioned melee fights, and Keanu Reeves with a robotic arm at the end of the trailer. With the new trailer, Nvidia has confirmed that the Cyberpunk 2077 is getting new ray tracing features for realistic reflections, shadows, and accurate lighting in an open-world game with a day-night cycle. The game takes place in a dystopian California with 6 distinct regions featuring hackers and criminals. Cyberpunk 2077, one of the most anticipated releases for this year, has been delayed to November.